Iowa City has suddenly become a destination for wide receivers. How about that? But what about a quarterback for the 2026 class? We will delve into those transactions and also those questions coming up here on Hawkeyes Live right here at the Voice of College Football. Yes, a different time, not a new time, but just for this week. So we appreciate you following those notifications, and that's why they're there. So please turn on the bell for the notifications if you are watching us maybe minutes, hours, or days after our Friday show this week with Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Hey, Corey.
How are you, Mark?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. It's a nice day here. Windy outside, warm. We're going to get a huge heat wave tomorrow, but we'll get through that. And yeah, we're counting down the days now. I saw, what was it, 74, 73, somewhere in there.
Yeah, just minutes ago, I was talking to somebody in the Buckeye State, which I'm prone to do from time to time. And yeah, they said that they're pretty much experiencing what it sounds like you have, that it's been rather mild, 70, 72, but yeah, the heat wave is approaching, which I've been living in the heat wave, but that's to be expected.
Well, the difference is you have an ocean nearby. So I do think there's a bit of a difference there, but you know.
It was funny. I do enjoy statistics even beyond sports, and I looked this up the other day, just being curious. And Akron, Ohio, is where I've got a lot of family and friends. Actually, the all-time temperature high in Akron, Ohio, is hotter than Daytona Beach's all-time.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's amazing how extreme it gets in the Midwest. So I'm sure these next couple of months are going to be hot. There've been some severe weather here in the area in the last few weeks as well. So hope everybody stays safe. The heat is almost as dangerous, if not more dangerous, it's everywhere than a tornado is, because of just the extensiveness of that. So anyways, hope people are safe this weekend.
Comments and questions, folks, leave those in the chat. Corey and I will get to those, and we do appreciate your contributions. If for whatever reason, financial hardship, otherwise, certainly don't feel any pressure to contribute, but if you can, we do appreciate your financial contributions as well. You can do that as well by using the Amazon link, whether that's here or, I believe, Corey, you've got an Amazon link as well.
I do.
That's one way to contribute without financially contributing. I looked this up at some point during the Amazon, reign of terror on the Voice of College Football here, but that Amazon's worth, we're pushing $3 trillion at this point. So my thought is, you spend $100 at Amazon, you can throw Corey or myself $3, $4, $5, $6 of that, and it doesn't all need to go to Amazon to stack on top of their $3 trillion.
Amazon's starting to get close to Voice of College Football level of value. So
yes.
They're getting closer.
It's amazing. Speaking of, this is a perfect segue. Mr. Cash Herrera, aptly named for the segment here and the transition. Cash Herrera. And I remember you stating at some point during our discussion, it was probably right after he committed, which was in October of 2024. Okay, it is a long time to get to 2026, December of 2025, and he is a California kid. It may not hold true, and stay committed the entire way through.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I had any insight into him being. I mean, some of these kids are committing so early in the process, well before they sign. Even when they do sign, they can. How many guys, request releases from their letters? But yeah, he got a couple of offers after he committed to Iowa, one being Arizona and one being Cal. Sounds like he wanted to visit some other places. I'm sure he wants to visit those two schools. They're a lot closer to home than Iowa is. But yeah, he's from, same area of the country as Jackson Stratton. Everybody's saying, that's the title of our video, who's going to be the 2026 QB commit. I don't know the answer to that, but man, I just don't know. Do you really have to get one? I don't know why you have to get one. To me, at this point, everything is so fluid every year now with the portal that I just think you have to restrict yourself. You have to play the kind of like the NFL draft when you get to a point in the draft where you can take a guy at a position of need, or you can take a guy who holds tremendous value as it relates to where he's fallen in the draft. Kind of like the Shedeur Sanders situation, right? They had already drafted, right? He got drafted after Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
So, you're like, well, why do we have 2 rookie quarterbacks? Well, value, right? Value's there. So at this point, I think you got to look at the sum of your class and, figure out you have, an extra space because of this. Can we go get somebody at a different position that we see that we like? Could you use this as potential leverage to keep a couple of these younger guys around that could have entered the portal in December and basically tell them, hey, we have no plans to take anybody in 26. I don't know, Tyler Barnes, recruiting coordinator, I guess he's technically GM or whatever he is now for Iowa. He made a comment on social media after Cash decommitted that you're either with us or you're against us. Tyler, he seems like a nice guy, right? He's Kirk's son-in-law, but he kind of seems like he's kind of like Kirk's social media spokesman, unofficial spokesman. The little things that he says on Twitter. Kirk is not on Twitter himself. So I don't know if there's bad blood there. I don't know. I was long held that if you're going to take other visits, you shouldn't be committed. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Caden Proctor took plenty of other visits before he flipped the day before signing with Alabama. So I don't think it's as hard and fast of a rule as it was. My guess is that the Caden Proctor thing stung Iowa enough. Maybe Iowa made a bit of an exception with Proctor because he was a 5-star. And with all due respect to Cash Herrera, sounds like Lester liked him. That's why they went after him. But he's not some, top 50 player, top 100 player nationally. He had good offers. I mentioned Cal, Arizona, Iowa. I think he had a UCLA offer in there somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. But he'll probably end up staying close to home. I had a Minnesota offer as well. I'd be shocked if he goes there. But usually these things happen. When they do happen, he's not going to come back to Iowa. It would be very surprising if he ends up back at Iowa. Not unprecedented in this day and age. Stranger things have happened by all accounts, by all means. But I don't know. I just think you got to look at this and think in terms of value. You've got plenty of guys in that room right now. Yes, this is 26. But that also means there's 6 months for things to change. 6 months for someone else to decommit. 6 months to flip somebody. You may find, when does the portal window officially open? What's the day of the December portal window opening? Do you know, Mark, off the top of your head? Is it like
I don't.
The 20th? Signing day is sometime in there as well, right? Which comes first? The portal
That
window
is a
or
great
signing?
question because, yes, this past year, what did come first? It was pretty close. The portal always opens on a Monday. I don't know that it has to open on a Monday, but
Right.
it does open on a Monday. Signing day is on a Wednesday. I believe the portal opened that Monday and then Wednesday signing day.
Yeah, I think it's stupid. First of all, again, this is a different conversation for a different day. It's just stupid that you have those days so close together. Like, put one in front of the other, clearly in front of the other, and just leave it like that. Because I can argue it both ways. Signing day should come first or the portal should come first, but just leave it one way or another. So we'll see. I mean, I have confidence in Lester to be able to identify somebody he likes, and we don't know what camp's going to look like. If Gronowski is clearly the number one, then I can't imagine all those guys behind him, five guys they have behind him are going to stay put. So you're probably going to have to go to the portal no matter what. I know Kirk has kind of talked about not wanting to have to rely on the portal at quarterback every single year, but it's also what a lot of schools are doing. So you kind of have to adjust.
So in a short time, Corey, you have hit on a number of bullet point type items, either pertaining to Iowa or just overall in our current landscape of recruiting and signing players and the transfer portal and how it all works together. One that hits me is, yes, there are different categories of commitments. There are the guys, and even though we don't think many college football fans that these guys still exist, they do, that they made a commitment. And that's exactly what they mean. They can't sign today, but they truly follow through on that commitment all the way through. Could be 2 years in advance. They follow through because they know what the word commitment means, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where basically just that's how they feel this week. That's this is number one on their list. They really don't know what the term commitment means. And many truly believe that they are committed to that school, but they haven't vetted out the process completely, and they make a different decision on down the line, and they are swayed by somebody else. But they did, in fact, they were sincere and believed that that was a commitment at the time, and it didn't turn out to be. And then when you see a decommitment, sometimes that means, yes, that player has determined that is not the school for me. And so we don't know what the case is, because many times it does mean that, okay, I don't want to show my commitment for them. I've not necessarily changed my mind. I'm just opening up myself to other offers and other schools, but I have not taken the original commitment off the table in regards to taking that option off the table. So,
yeah, I think here's my hunch. If you want to know my hunch is he wanted to. What it sounds like is he wanted to take other visits, so they mutually said, "Hey, if you want to take other visits, you got to decommit." But I think once you do that, it's kind of like saying to your girlfriend, "Let's take a break." You know, oftentimes when a person says that to a significant other, usually that break is more than a break. I think that this is probably the end of that relationship. I'd be surprised if it's not. I've been surprised before, but now you got to figure out. Yeah, I mean, do you fill that spot? Do you? I think you wait and see, because so much can change. So much will change between now and December. Heck, you got, there's always a chance that eligibility changes for some D2 kids, and maybe there's some D2 quarterback that's lit it up. I have no idea, that now has an extra year he can play at D1, or some portal guy that ran out of eligibility. All these basketball players that were out of eligibility and entered the portal because they hoped that they could get a ruling in their favor. The Diego Pavia thing. But by the way, we want to comment on that. Have you talked about that on the air, about his comments against the Big Ten?
I have not.
Have you seen these?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's just sort of humorous that the quarterback at Vanderbilt is trying to take knocks at the Big Ten Conference, with all due respect. And Vanderbilt's really improved, right? I mean, it's impressive what they've done.
At least they did for 1 year. We don't know if that's going to last.
Yeah, my guess is it won't. That would be my guess. My guess is they're going to end up back where they were. We'll see. They got him back.
I would guess somewhere in between, which is still pretty bad.
Right.
like they've been all-time
and they would
bad.
They would lose to 16. If they were where they were, they would lose to 16, 17 of the Big Ten. Maybe all 18 teams in the Big Ten would have beaten them 2 years ago. So yes. Whatever. Sort of a bad look, I think.
So another thing that you mentioned about any particular quarterback room, not just Iowa's, is we could be going through a different phase here, where if we're sitting here having this conversation 5 or 6 years ago, then you could look at any team's quarterback room and you had a pretty good feel for what it looked like going forward for the next 2 to 3 years. You got your starter, or you have two guys that are currently battling as we get prepared for August camp. And you know that the loser of the quarterback battle, he is definitely the backup. And then you've got your hot shot freshman that may have come in this past recruiting class, or maybe last year, and he's a red shirt and he's the guy that's being groomed. And then there maybe is a fourth guy that is lesser counted upon, but he could be a factor. And you could size it up for the next 2 or 3 years. Now we have no idea with this transfer portal. Now with this settlement, we may get back to another place where we can again one day, probably to a lesser extent than what it used to be, but more so than today, project a position unit for a particular team, especially quarterback, because maybe the player movement is going to be settled down and contained to a certain extent. But that is a long way away from happening.
I wonder how, and this sort of piggybacks off that, Mark. I wonder how the signing process is going to change in the next 5 years, maybe even the next couple of years. Like, is it going to continue to look the same with a quote unquote national letter of intent and signing day? I mean, I know that that doesn't change directly as a result of revenue sharing, but I'm almost surprised that they're still signing NLIs. I don't know. Maybe that won't change, but it seems like everything's changing now. Things are antiquated. By the way, just want to make sure you're clear on this, because I think it was last year that it kind of snuck up on you. You are aware that Big 12 Media Days is in like less than like 2.5 weeks?
You brought that up last week concerning the Big Ten and the SEC, and we got done, and it did hit me that, the Big 12 is actually first in line. July 8th, I believe, is
July 8th. Yeah.
I should put in my credentials. I should hit all 4.
Head over to Frisco, man. Dallas is a cool city. Spend some time in Dallas. Yeah. You probably get a cheap flight, Orlando to Dallas.
I've been looking at Vegas flights.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that. You can usually fly pretty cheap there. How's your
to a certain extent?
How is your cleanse going? Are you feeling
I don't
clean?
have a cleanse going.
Why?
I'm eating well.
Oh,
yes, a cleanse of sorts. Yes, I'm eating clean.
I thought you were
eat non-processed food.
Didn't you go like 40 days without anything? But didn't you like wander the wilderness for like 40 days and 40 nights or something?
I had a 100-hour juice cleanse.
Oh, it was more than 100 hours. Are you kidding me? I thought it was 40 days. Wasn't it like a 40-day cleanse?
Where I did not eat?
I don't know what you did.
Okay.
You ate nothing but smoothies or something.
I did a juice cleanse twice. One lasted 100 hours.
Okay.
This last time I started, now it's going on 3 weeks, that I have mostly eliminated processed foods.
Oh, okay.
No junk food except for some dark chocolate I've had.
Okay. That's pretty simple. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking it was something, like I say, like you were just drinking juice for 40 days. That's what I remember. So what's that? Say that again.
I don't think anyone should do that. 40 days? I don't think I'd be sitting here. I don't think I would look alive at this point.
Yeah.
I could have fallen down or something would have happened to me at that point. I do, by the way, have my official Iowa prediction is out there.
Is it on? Is it posted?
It's posted.
Okay. Let me guess. 8-5.
I don't pick a bowl game. I don't predict bowl games because I don't know who's playing.
I'll say
regular season.
8-4. I'm gonna say you called it 8-4.
Well, we've got a lot of wide receivers coming into the fold here.
What are you talking about?
I'm bypassing the prediction video because you'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. All right.
And
they're getting some guys in that room. That's for sure. There's a lot of guys that are flying under the radar. You had a couple of guys here commit over the last week. Let's see. Dean Oliver's son committed, who's a walk-on. And then there was one other.
I'm looking at preferred walk-ons, all wide receivers. Isaiah Oliver,
yep.
FCS player, 36 catches, 430 yards, 6 touchdowns. Brody Schaefer and DeAndre Smith.
Brody Schaefer. He's been committed for a while and has as has Smith. But I was going to bring up, let's see here. So, Isaiah Oliver just Noah Daniel was the other one. I'm sorry. Noah Daniels. He's a running back out of Fort Dodge, who's also coming to Iowa as a preferred walk-on. So 2 guys this week that have been added. Isaiah Oliver was a really good basketball player. Of course, his dad is sort of a 90s legend, Iowa basketball legend. He had a bunch of opportunities to go to high. Let me be careful what I say here. High major FCS schools, one being North Dakota State, one being South Dakota State, and he opted to walk on at Iowa here. So that's impressive.
It's almost like the Iowa Brain Trust has been listening to you. You are so high on the North Dakota State, South Dakota State contingent up there. You
and
love
Northern
those
Iowa.
schools.
Northern Iowa. He also had an offer from Northern Iowa. So, yeah, I don't think money is a problem for that family. I'm not trying to get into their personal affairs, but Dean Oliver has been an assistant coach at the Power 5 level for quite some time. I don't think money is probably an issue. So if he wants to play at Iowa, he wants to play at Iowa. Iowa has a great tradition with walk-ons. Yes, things are changing with scholarship limits being eventually put into place. But, yeah, a good get for them. I mean, if they can get a kid like this to walk on who's got great legacy roots and, you had the best programs in FCS football want him on scholarship, that's big time. And I wouldn't be shocked if Tim Lester's able to make him a Big Ten receiver someday.
Now, my notes are not clear, and that's, of course, my fault. Noah Daniel, I have South Dakota State. Did he commit to South Dakota State and flipped?
Yes. Yeah, he was committed to South Dakota State. And I don't know when Iowa offered him, but, yeah, he was a flip.
He's out of Fort Dodge, and I have him listed as a receiver. He's a running back.
Yeah, I don't think he's
You're
not
telling me he's a running back. He had 17 catches and 6 touchdowns.
Can pull up his.
But of course, a running back can certainly catch 17 passes.
Yeah. Actually, my guess he's listed as an athlete on 247. I don't know what his future is. If it's at DB, if it's at running back, if it's a receiver. He's 6 foot 190. My guess is he's not going to play running back at Iowa. That'd be my guess. My guess is he's probably going to end up on the defensive side. But he's walk-ons. I mean, walk-ons, they're hard to tell. You got linebackers converting to fullbacks, and so we'll see.
We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. If you can't catch the show, the video of the show, and if you're like me, you have issues pulling up YouTube videos in the car, I should say, then you can catch the audio. Corey posts the audio on from the Hawkeye of the Storm along with the rest of his work there. What is the latest on your platform?
Well, the latest is I know this video with Addie Deal, 5-star incoming Iowa guard, has been pretty strong, performing well. Fans are pumped about her and just kind of her story. Interesting backstory with her being interested in Iowa and reaching out to Iowa before they reached out to her, before Caitlin Clark changed the game at Iowa. So that's unique. So that interview's up, and posted a segment from the interview yesterday. And then we've got a wrestling segment coming up this weekend. We haven't really done much wrestling stuff, but we're going to start integrating some wrestling. So I know that's going to captivate your attention, Mark. But Iowa wrestling's huge. There's a faction of fans that just live and breathe it.
Sure. It's the one wrestling program that I know of historically.
I hope you know Penn State.
Great.
I hope you know Penn State's great.
I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's great as well. But yeah,
I knew about Iowa when I was like 12 or 15 years old.
Sure.
I knew that. Yeah.
Dan Gable back in the day, right?
Yes. He's the guy that I assume he won Olympic medals.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm an Iowa guy, and I that's how little I take interest in wrestling. I've had people for years ask me, why don't you do wrestling? Well, first of all, I know nothing about wrestling. I know some of the guys who were greats, right? Like Spencer Lee, Dan Gable. I can tell you some recent, Tony Cassiope, and boy, I don't even trying to think of some. They've had some great wrestlers here in the last 10 years. They just haven't been able to get over the hump that was Penn State. But we've got somebody coming in to kind of help the team out with this team from the Hawkeye of the Storm with some wrestling coverage. Somebody who is coaching himself, a young young coach who is also getting into the journalism and media field, which is great. So he sat down with him yesterday and talked a little bit about one of Iowa's recent transfers, who's actually a former Oklahoma State Cowboy turned wrestler at Little Rock, transferred to Iowa, but he's got some legal issues he's facing. Got picked up on assault and public intox here about a week ago. Apparently, something happened at one of the local breweries in Iowa City. So we talk about that and his future. And so, yeah, if people are interested in wrestling, we're going to make what we should do, and I should have done this with all our videos. I will make a wrestling playlist because I'm sure Hawkeye fans, there are some people, that's all they follow is Iowa wrestling.
The only thing I know about wrestling in terms of my own personal experience is that we had wrestling in gym class when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And we had we learned some wrestling moves, etc. Not enough to perfect them in any way. But then we had a wrestling tournament. And I remember in both 7th and 8th grade, I don't remember exactly how many matches there were, but I'm guessing like I won just because I'm slightly maybe more athletic or stronger than the kid I was going up against. But then as soon as I ran into a wrestler, it was like I got crushed because they know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I get pinned within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Speaking of assault and speaking of, you dropped the name Caitlin Clark.
Oh my goodness.
What is going on? She's being treated like a punching bag. Now, I don't know what's going on within the context of all this. I just see the video.
It's good for ratings, Mark. It's great for ratings. I'm telling you, I'm not saying it's conspiracy, but the WNBA is desperate for more viewers. They've gotten a lot more viewers because of Caitlin. I don't know what the ratings look like still, but it's good for ratings. So I'm not saying that the commissioner or whoever's behind it all is causing all of these players to go after her. I think there's a lot of jealousy. We've talked about that. I think it was kind of cool to see Sophie Cunningham stick up for her teammate. And it was an Ohio State player. It was JC Sheldon. Yeah. Who was, Caitlin and her have a bit of a history from Iowa versus Ohio State games.
Oh,
so that was got her initially in the face, and then down at the other end, Sheldon was driving, and that's when Sophie Cunningham just kind of ripped her down. What I thought was amazing about that is Sophie Cunningham, who, by the way, here's an Iowa football connection. Sophie Cunningham is that player I told you, Mark, is Gavin Hoffman's cousin. So Sophie went to Missouri, and I told you there's definitely it's not technically tampering, but Sophie was in Gavin's ear ever since the beginning, and anyways, he transferred to Missouri, right, during this offseason. But now she plays with Caitlin with Indiana. But anyways, so it's kind of cool to see her stick up for Caitlin. But then, yeah, when she ripped Sheldon down, she was I'm talking about Sophie Cunningham standing there waiting for this girl to come after her. I don't know that I've seen that in the W. Not that I watch a lot of WNBA basketball, but it was she was ready. Okay, yeah, I know you're going to get up and come after me. It's sort of reminded me of the old Shaq Charles Barkley rumble tumble underneath the basket.
Yeah, that altercation there seemed as physical as a men's game.
Yeah, no, I think look, I'm not an advocate for violence by any means, for fighting. But I do think the W is not upset that this is happening. And I mean, look, you're the league's best player. You're the face of the league. You're the face of the sport. Caitlin Clark, I don't feel sorry for Caitlin Clark. Come on. I don't feel sorry. Her house isn't getting broken into and her house vandalized. She's getting roughed up on the court. I don't really feel sorry for her. I think it's good that her teammates are coming to her defense. I think it makes the sport more interesting for a lot of people. I don't know what the ratings have been so far this season. The NBA is about to be concluded after Sunday, after Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And so you have literally baseball, golf, and WNBA basketball for the next couple of months. And hopefully they can take advantage of the the viewership, because there's not a whole lot of competition this time of year.
Isaac, I'm not going to respond to your comment there. So, yeah, I have to say, I know nothing about any of this except Caitlin Clark is arguably the greatest college basketball player of all time, women's college basketball player of all time. And she enters the WNBA. Obviously, she brought all this attention, all this popularity to the women's game at the collegiate level. She's done the same for the WNBA. And I understand that you don't feel sorry for her. I don't generally feel sorry for her to the level that, you know, a couple billion people on this planet deserve some level of sympathy for their living circumstances or anything like that. But she is a target. I do feel sorry for her not being able to just go out there and play basketball, that she seems to be this target.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking the best players in every sport get targeted. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, in a sense, they all get targeted. I think we do look at it differently because it's women's basketball.
Okay. And then this Sophie. So you're telling me that the girl that attacked her is an Ohio State player, an Ohio State player. Yeah. And then this Sophie girl, they have some kind of connection or
no, Sophie friendship. Sophie Cunningham played at Missouri. And she's a teammate of Caitlin Clark's. So it appeared that she came down on Sheldon later in the game because of what happened earlier involving Sheldon and Caitlin. And yeah, I just brought the Sophie thing up because of the Gavin. She's Gavin Hoffman's cousin. That's all.
I knew nothing about this except for I saw the play, and then I saw a clip of this Sophie girl who I knew nothing about, didn't know that she existed, but that she was coming back from her suspension and she was entering the arena
last night
for the next game. She was decked out like a supermodel. There was nothing wrong with that. That's fine if that's her choice. And then I saw these pictures of her, and then I saw pictures of her and Caitlin Clark, and she doesn't look like your typical women's basketball player. I'll just state that.
The other thing about Caitlin is she's been dinged up. She was out for several weeks, and so I think that was also in Indy. So when you start roughing up the face of the franchise, face of the league, who's fresh off an injury, I think you're probably asking for some trouble. I also think, like, some of that stuff that's happened with, it wasn't just Sheldon, it was another girl for Connecticut that shoved Caitlin to the ground after she got hit in the face by Sheldon. And then you have, what was it, like last year, the Kennedy Carter thing where she just, not just hip checked her, but decked her to the ground. Like, a lot of that stuff's happening. And I think some of that's just A, jealousy, but also B, looking for attention. Because if you do that, you are going to get lots of attention, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, look at what Angel Reese really hasn't had a whole lot as far as physical dust-ups with Caitlin. She's had a couple. But look at how much attention she gets. A lot of it negative because she involves herself with the conversation. Caitlin doesn't involve Angel Reese in the conversation. Angel Reese involves herself in the conversation. And as a result, she gets attention, and that's what she wants. That's my theory on it.
Who were the players involved in the play that I saw where the one girl's driving down the lane? It looked like a clear layup, and the other girl takes her by the waist and slings her down.
That, like I say, that was J.C. Sheldon, the Ohio State player who had hit Caitlin earlier in the face. She had the fast break. Sophie Cunningham was just like, no, you're going down.
Okay.
There was, to me, it didn't even appear like she wanted it to look like she was going after the ball. It was like, I'm just forget you. Like, that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I don't condone that either, except for under these circumstances.
I don't know that it was a dangerous play. Like, it was a hard foul.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with her getting tossed. Should she have been tossed? Yeah. And move on. Play on. I mean, I'm not condoning it either, but I really don't condone shots to the head. Like some of the crap that Ndamukong Suh used to do on the football field. Brought this back to football, Big Ten football, NFL. There was a time where I was extremely passionate about how I thought that Roger Goodell and the league needed to kick him out of the league because of the crap he was doing. And I was never an Aaron Rodgers fan, but like, the stomping, didn't he stomp on Aaron Rodgers or was that someone else? He stomped on somebody.
I don't want to say, I don't remember.
You stomp on someone with your sharp cleats, and then there's a video of him diving at the side of some big offensive lineman's knees as they're running down the field, like diving at the side. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, the well-being of somebody's health. And I think he's toned it down. Where is he playing now?
He's got to be just about done.
He's got to be. Is he in Tampa Bay still?
I lost track of him in Miami. I think that's the last time I
think he's in Tampa Bay.
noticed him.
Anyways, great football player, but he's just nuts. He's nuts. he's a nutcase.
We need to get you over on some Nebraska show because, man, they worship that guy.
Oh, good. Of course they do, because his name starts with an N.
This would be 2 great videos you could produce. Well, you could do about 5 of them, but I would only care about the overall one and the football one. Mike 3883. You don't need to do it here, Corey, but I would suggest these be videos. Your Mount Rushmore of Iowa football and Iowa athletics.
That's it's amazing about that is you could argue that the Mount Rushmore of Iowa athletics, you'd have at least 2 or 3 on the all-time Mount Rushmore, like in the last decade. You could argue that. I'm not saying that, like, I think Luka Garza could be in the conversation for men's basketball. Heck, he was National Player of the Year and almost won it twice, 2 years in a row. Wow. I don't know that I've heard of him.
I've never heard of him. I had no idea who you were talking about with
football anymore.
You just mentioned that name, and I thought, is he what does he play? Hockey?
I'm sorry you feel that way. They don't have a hockey program. They have field hockey. But no, he won a National Player of the Year.
It's not how I feel. I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just saying I've never heard of him.
Okay. So.
And their men's basketball program has not been good, so I didn't expect it to be.
It has not been bad.
To produce an all-time great athlete in the history of the entire program.
He won National Player of the Year. Do you know what that means? That's the equivalent of a Heisman Trophy.
Sure.
So how can you not? What is there to argue?
I'm not arguing how good he is because I don't know. I'm just telling you I don't know who he is.
Well, but that says more about you. That says more about you than
exactly.
Him. Well,
I know. I was just stating a fact that I didn't know who you were talking about.
By the way, can I just say one more thing? This comment by Troy V, like this shows that you actually have no idea what you're talking about. I've been in Ohio, at least the parts of Ohio I've been in, you could argue Ohio is flatter than Iowa. So I don't want to hear this garbage. Have you been through Iowa, Mark? No. You have not been through Iowa. Iowa is not flat. This is not Nebraska.
I drove through a corner of Iowa, I believe, to get to Nebraska for the College World Series.
Iowa is very hilly, very rolling.
Is it?
Yes. I drove back the other day from Omaha from the College World Series. Okay. And I was off cruising almost the entire time because they are massive rolling hills. That's not a joke. Parts of central Iowa are pretty flat, but you go up northeastern Iowa, all hilly. You go into southeastern Iowa, very hilly, all the way up into the Des Moines area, really. I mean, it's very hilly. I would venture to say there's probably more hills in Iowa than there are in Ohio. So he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I don't know how much you've been in Ohio, but anyway.
I've been in Ohio more than you've been in Iowa.
This is true. Okay. All right. Let's not misinterpret what's coming from Troy, because as soon as you mentioned that, because I know Troy's on my shows all the time. Good to see Troy. Love Troy. I know he's an Ohio State fan. So as soon as I started to read that, I thought he was taking a knock at the Iowa athletics program, basically saying it's not going to be a Mount Rushmore, it's going to be a little hill. But no, he was just talking about the topography. So let's understand. He's just.
But I'm sorry. Like Troy says, I've driven through Iowa on I-80 a couple of times. I don't, not calling him a liar, but if you've driven anywhere east of or west of Des Moines, none of that's flat. None of it's flat. None of it. So that's what I'm saying. You say you've driven through on I-80 a couple of times. I guess you stopped at Des Moines because, yeah, I mean, east of Des Moines to Iowa City, yeah, it's not flat. Like, go to Nebraska if you want to see flat. That's flat. Okay, go through parts of Colorado. That's flat.
Florida is
Yeah,
flat.
but
This is
but
the
nobody
flattest.
knocks it because there's cities and pollutants everywhere. You go through Iowa and you have cornfields and people think it's lame. But anyways, just saying.
Pollutants.
Well, I mean, you have constant industrial everywhere, then you're going to have, yeah. I get tired of, again, Troy, you sound like a great person based on everything Mark just said. Drive to Nebraska someday. Drive west of Des Moines, and you'll see it's hilly until you get to Omaha, and then it's flat. It is flat as a pancake the rest of the way. By the way, I live in Story County. Story County is very flat. Very flat. But I've also ridden Ragbri before. So if you ride a bike, again, I didn't do the whole thing, but drove across and most of it western Iowa. So I'm commenting mainly on southwestern Iowa to central Iowa. You'll know it's not flat. I would much rather ride a bike through Nebraska than I would Iowa, because the hills, man, they kill you after a while.
I miss my Connecticut walks because, oh man, the developments I lived in and then outside.
Wait a minute, real quick. Roy says
mountains.
he says he lives in Chicago. Like, Illinois is no hillier than Iowa. He says it's the flattest land he's ever driven through. I don't get that. Troy's just trying to get me riled up. Is that what? What else do I got to get riled up about this time of year? I mean,
yeah, there's nothing to get riled up about.
I could get riled up about how hot it is outside, but I actually like the heat. I like the sun. I don't like the wind. But if it's not cold wind, I don't mind.
I'm going to unveil my Big Ten all-time rankings next week. Maybe we can get you riled up about that.
I'm sure you can. Isaac says we need my live reactions to bad Iowa losses posted on the channel. No, you don't.
Oh.
No, I'm on live after every game, Isaac. So,
well, you're on live. You're a professional. So Isaac, I guess, is expecting these ridiculous videos that people post when their team loses and they stomp around and
take an axe to the TV.
Break. Yes. All those things.
Troy told me to chill, so I'm gonna try to chill, Mark. So, who was it the other day? Somebody went on. I hate to give this guy airtime. Somebody went on that recording that interview with Addie Deal. It was like a 35-minute interview with a 5-star recruit.
Okay.
And the guy literally posted on Twitter and on YouTube. There's 50 or more comments on the video because it's gotten close to 10,000 views. And his comment was, Corey's he's just wired negative. Why can't you be positive for once? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Did you watch this interview? What did I say during the interview? And somebody even responded and said that. Like, what was said negative? What was negative? Like, so it always just kind of reassures me that I'm doing the right thing for people to think that even when I'm performing it, it's like people hate objectivity. So, anyways. I'm just thinking the comment earlier about getting live reactions from me. I don't think I could ever be a Stephen A. Smith where he gets pretty unhinged. Didn't he walk off the set one time? Didn't Stephen A. walk off the set because he was upset about something? I'm just imagining like myself walking off my set and just leaving the show going, and I just walk away.
Yeah, well, if iPhones would have been around when I was 15, 20, 25 years old watching Ohio State games, absolutely. It's that kind of stuff. Punching things, throwing fits, pounding the floor. A lot of that.
Yeah.
That went on all the time.
Pounding the floor.
Oh yeah, my kids. So I guess it lasted past 25. My kids, when they were fairly young, one time it gave me a mental picture and caused me to change my way slightly when they said, they basically both went to their knees and gave it like this on the floor, like, like, okay.
I've pounded a few things before. Nothing that will break. So I'm pretty well. Some people are completely unhinged, but if I'm, if I get frustrated by something that's happening with Iowa or the Mavs or whatever, I'm very deliberate and pointed with how I react. Where did Mark go? Really? Mark, I guess I upset Mark. So we'll see if we can get Mark back in here. Hey, he's back.
You can't swipe the wrong, just.
I thought I said something that offended you, but one time I'll just real quick, final story, and we can end this thing. But I did dislocate the bad shoulder, the shoulder I had surgery on. I did dislocate it once celebrating something that happened.
Well, that's
so it's like, but that's the worst.
It's a good thing.
It's sort of.
It's not a good result, but it's not because you were.
Result.
Yeah, like the three things that come to mind, and there are others, but the three things that come to mind would be I one time put a hole through a lampshade. I punched a lampshade. I backhanded a mug and smashed it against the wall.
Okay.
And I threw a spoon at the TV.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Did it hurt the TV?
Yeah.
Wow, you are a little unhinged. I've never done anything quite like that.
A long time ago. Long, all those incidents a long time ago.
Wow.
As
Mike
I was
says we got to make this into a YouTube short. Worst reactions to a sports loss.
As I was talking to somebody the other day, and they realized some things that they saw of me were older than they were. So I had a buddy. This is my last line of the show, and nobody cares about this because it's not concerning Iowa football. But on the topic of current events or just stupid things, yeah. A former director at a TV station sent me a long reel of compilations from the late 1990s and outtakes and bloopers and funny stuff, and it was fun to watch.
Good stuff.
If I get desperate for views, I'll put those on my channel.
There you go. Yeah.
Which means I guess I'll put them on my channel. So what's next up from the Hawkeye of the Storm?
Well, we're gonna have a live show here at some point soon, so people can stay tuned for that. Like I say, we're gonna have some wrestling stuff here over the next week, and then kind of the calm before the storm. It's gonna sneak up on us, and once you hit mid to late July and August, boy, it gets busy fast. So less than 2 months from Iowa Media Days as well.
Folks, by the way, if you want to see some other Hawkeye content here at the Voice of College Football, you know that these shows are going on. I'm reminded by that because I'm trying to post certain banners on the screen, and they have been swallowed up by our other hosts and their banners. So keep it locked in with Corey from the Hawkeye of the Storm, and we'll be back most likely next Tuesday at our normal 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central, and we will see you soon.